Hi everyone, I made a big decision which you probably saw in your subscription box, where I released 66 videos or something of that sort. First of all, yeah, sorry about that. But the reason why I did it is because I'm more so a streamer nowadays than I am a YouTuber. Most of my content is streams. So having all of my videos public, but basically having all of my streams kinda hidden, as if they're not really a big part. Like, hiding behind a wall basically. Oh yeah, and if you want to, you can watch my streams too. I don't want to be like that anymore. Streaming is a really big part of my identity as like a content creator, and I want them to be front and center. I want them to be recommended to you through recommendations. I want them to be easily viewable so that you can see when new ones come out even easier without having to go onto my channel and go into a certain playlist that contains all of them. I want all of them to be front and center so people can more visibly see that, yes, I'm also a streamer. Now, through this, I lost like 9 subscribers, which is very understandable. After all, you sub to a person that maybe you watch for videos, and now she released like 66 videos at once, none of which are videos, they're stream VODs. Can be annoying for some people, like I super understand that. I super see myself in that same situation and unsubbing because of that, so like that's understandable. However, when I present myself on YouTube, I want to represent both of my identities, the identity of the YouTuber and the identity of the streamer. I want that to be very clear. And if you subbed for one experience and don't like the other, once again, that's understandable, completely fine. It's just that for me, it is very, very important. So yeah, both sorry and not sorry. That's a decision that I decided to make. Took me a long while to truly decide, but now I'm quite sure. Especially with the thing that I've been doing. You might have noticed in my most recent videos, I say something along the lines of, oh, I did this on stream and you can watch it if you want, providing a link. I want that to be more integrated, where my videos will often be like a look inside of, you can also have the experience of experiencing whatever I'm explaining with me on stream or by watching the VOD. Like maybe me discovering Grommet MPX. You can watch the video where I show off the program in a concise way, or you can join the stream where I'm checking the program out and interact with me, or like discover it along with me. There are plenty of programming channels, and a lot of them come from a point of authority to an extent. I may be an authority on some things to some people, but what I enjoy about my way of doing things is that I can provide a perspective of basically someone you can discover something with. Me always like being stupid on stream and not being able to figure something out. I'm like, what? And maybe you relate to being in those situations, and now there is a streamer that you can like interact with, who represents that view of, often I don't understand things, but still willing to learn them, I think that is somewhat unique. I don't really see it often. So yeah, I think that's an important part of me that I wanted to represent. About being stupid, today, as you can see by the title of the stream, I had a technical interview on a job, and well, I don't think I did that well, I'm gonna be honest. First of all, it was in C sharp, and although I do know C sharp, not to the extent that I know Rust, simply due to experience of making things for myself. I've simply dealt with more problems in Rust than I have in C sharp, so I was I was ironically rusty in that. So I want to talk about the experience and like how was it? So, first of all, I took a gamble, and I'm not sure if it was worth it or not. So, they gave me a task that I was supposed to do, and they were like, oh, I'll like turn off the microphone and so on and so forth. You can do the task on your own, and then we'll rejoin. And I said something controversial. I said, okay, so I'm a streamer and I like talking through my process, so I think we should stay with the microphone and so on and so forth, so we can better see into my perspective, how I think and how I program. On paper, amazing! Like incredible, honestly. Although in practice, did that help me or make it worse? I don't know much about how technical interviews go. This is like my first one technically. I've had HR interviews. Oh yes, in my previous HR interview, which I did pass, they gave me a task and I did do it like offline, I guess. And there I was incredibly satisfied with my results. On this one I wasn't, and you can see the tab being here. We're gonna get to it. That's like the point of the stream. I want to figure out every single thing that was in there so that I'm better next time. I think at the end of the day, my decision to do it together was a good one, because I think I was able to explain how I arrive at conclusions and like explain more things overall than if I did it offline. I also showed my process, so I needed to create a test project to do the code in, and you're kind of like expected to just pull out some file or whatever, like it doesn't matter. But the fact that I had a robust ex-Windows user that jumped directly to a Linux distro that requires effort or expertise. I disagree. EndeavourOS is so easy. It's literally so easy. Like, I don't know, you can, fuck, what? Chat, what the fuck? Hey, yo? What the fuck? Chat is wild. Right, so... Oh, interesting. I can't see the borders. Oh, wow, that's actually pretty cool. Like, the gaps are here, but because it's the same wallpaper, it's as if there's just some UI. Yes, it is. Like, you can probably just paru cocaine if you wanted to. It's so, like, it's so easy. You just get a live boot, you install, that's it. And you have Arch, and you can pyro cocaine if you wanted to. And like overall, I think it's super easy. The only issue I've ever had on Endeavour OS only ever happened because I used Debian in the past. So, if you pick correctly the first time, meaning Endeavour OS, you won't have that issue. The other one isn't really with Endeavour OS, but more so Arch. Blender was broke for like a while, and I was like a drought in my videos because I didn't have a thing to edit things with. So one is a Debian issue, interestingly, and another is just an Arch, like, I guess issue. But this one downside underweighs the upsides of having the latest packages. Because now, when I need a specific version of Fish to make some plugin work, I don't have to go out of my way and bend my ass backwards to install it. No, just pyro Fish. It's going to be the correct version. Same thing about NeoVim. For the VS Code extension, I can also just pyro NeoVim. And that has been so good to me. And of course, there's like DistroBox thingies and NixOS and so on and so forth. But I just enjoy having a simple one-stop shop that I can basically install everything in without having to think of other solutions like instead. I don't really want to. Right, so fuck, I lost that page. I didn't know that worked. I have yet to need it, gonna be honest. I'm sure it's good and helpful and so on and so forth, but I just haven't needed it yet. No spoilers yet. Like, so far, everything I install, I can just pyro, and that's it. So I'd like to keep it that way until it actually solves a problem that I have. I have a tendency to solve problems that I don't yet have. I don't want to expand on that bias. For reproducible builds with external libs, I don't use external libs. I use Rust, which re-implements those libs in itself, and you just grab a crate. So yeah, once again, not an issue that I have. Right, so what was I on? It can have them. I mean, yeah, I know. But I won't want to. I don't want my user to possibly see some, oh, couldn't find libSSL, blah blah blah. I would rather solve that issue for them. Because it's like super annoying. My decision to explain my process, I think at the end was good. It showed my, I guess, bravery to an extent that I'm willing to not be perfect at all times. It's pretty clear that when talking to someone, you're going to be worse. And I'm sure the like tech lead, I'm sure she understands that. And it's like a plus, a point of appreciation. So the decision was good, but thanks to me not really being good at the subjects, it also, in a sense, played me a bad hand. Okay, I know. So I had this task, right? I saw it, I didn't really read into any single task, and I pretty immediately said, oh, let's like do this together, basically. I'll talk through my process. What I should have done is look into the tasks a bit more, and then if there's yes, that, thank you. And then if they're like obvious to me and I know I can explain them better than not, then I can request this baller move of I'm gonna talk through my process. But if I'm like not entirely sure how to do it, I should indeed take my time on my own, do it on my own, understand it while doing it, and then act like I know what I did. Oh, interesting. Python uses none too. Yeah, I think that would be a better way to do it. So basically, before I make this decision in the future, look at the tasks first and then see how easy they are and decide whether I should flex or not. That's the first thing. Second thing is that on a subpart of this task, because something wasn't working how I wanted it to, I stayed way too long thinking it worked differently, even though I got a lot of hints that I was wrong. What I should have done there is not as like, instead of trying to coerce the problem into working how I want it to work, because it's easier that way for me to figure it out, instead of that, immediately look into the truth, fail fast, and find a way out of that situation, rather than it has to work this way, otherwise I don't know. And of course, nerves played a part, because I also like woke up 2 hours prior, so kind of woke up, immediately interviewed. That's a lot. Yeah, and then in a language that I'm not as good at as Rust. And if I recognized how it actually works, immediately I can then look at the other issues that may be stopping me from doing something. And once again, considering that I didn't immediately know the answer to all this, should have taken my time and figured it out on my own. Even when streaming, I noticed this, but obviously the more I do it, the less of a problem it is. It's harder to think while also talking permanently. To an extent, talking through a problem helps, but it's even easier when you don't have to think about how to form your thoughts into speech. And well, I'm actually bad at thinking. I'm super bad at thinking. I do not think. It's easier for me to write code than to think. So to figure something out, and the best way for me is to just write the code and literally just feel the code. And then I basically get hints from the code in some way or fashion that lead me to the actual solution. That's the most effective I am as a developer. When I'm trying to put it into thoughts, that gets difficult. It's easier for me to speak than to think, weirdly enough, but putting the callings of the code into thoughts is the difficult part, which makes thinking like harder. It makes figuring the problem out harder. Okay, yeah, so only jump into let me explain if you're like super sure of the task that, yeah, this is easy, I know how to do this. If you're like, I'm not sure, do it on your own, and then act like you're the badass. Boom, one thing figured out. You might be saying, Alisa, why are you doing this on stream? You see, I'm very selfish. I could not bother to think through this like stuff on my own time because it feels like I'm wasting my time. It's super not true. It's like the complete opposite, right? But it would feel like just kind of wasting my time to an extent. But if I'm streaming, then I'm productive. Weird how that works, right? But yeah. And plus, like, I'm a junior programmer, like starting out, trying to find my first job. Maybe this kind of experience will help other people. Because once again, as I explained in the start of the stream, a lot of programming YouTubers and streamers come from a point of authority, being quite a bit higher in rank and so on, where you don't often see the perspective of a junior, which I'm sure is helpful in other ways too. Maybe in emotional. Maybe you're also a junior trying to find a job, and like, here you go. You can see another person who is struggling as well, and get some form of solidarity. Okay, so that was the first thing figured out, that don't jump before the horse. Second thing, fail fast and find solutions out of this. That's like the mental lessons that I want to learn out of this. Aside from this, the actual problems at hand. So by the end of it all, like, I completed the task, I now know how to do it, so that's fine. However, something that I want to learn more concretely overall is tree traversion. Studying this task specifically feels kind of like, I guess, unnecessary, but more so understanding how to traverse trees, the different ways to do it, and the pluses and the minuses of it, that's going to be quite important. This is just, you can do the task in either C# or Python. And here's the tree that I needed to traverse. Let me explain how I did it, by the way. So we need to have a function that takes in any node, and each node has children, and then returns us a list. Returns us a list of all the nodes under it. So if we provide A to it, it will need to get us a list of all of them. And there are multiple ways of doing this. There's the way that basically counts like this. We do I, M, J, D, E, N, K, F, you know? So we go from the farthest leftist thing, to the uppest rightest thing, A in this case. Then there's the option of A, B, D, I, J, M, E, F, K, N. So basically the parent element is before the child elements rather than after. Hold up, let me repulse my cat. I mentioned this, but I ordered 2 like water sprayers, and I think they're gonna be huger than I think. Because cats just sometimes decide to meow for like a good 10 minutes, unless they're like shown that they shouldn't. And spraying them with water is a very like, I'm not sure how to word this correctly. Sure, I'll say it this way, but it's kind of strange sounding. It's not a destructive way to stop them from meowing. It's just water. But yeah, you get to continue being focused on whatever you're doing. And this is a part of the reason why I want to move out so much, is because when I don't have cats, that's not going to be an issue ever. I'm going to be able to leave my door open permanently. That's going to be so nice. Right now, my door is permanently closed, so cats don't just waltz in here and do whatever. Right, and the third way of doing it is basically M, N, I, J, K, L, D, E, F, G, H, and so on. So, like that. Yeah, let's go. This, more specifically, I could not get. Like, this is like written in Russian, so let me translate, or rather explain. We have this table and we want to convert it into this table. You can see that here we got revenue. And the way we got the revenue, it's kind of like strange. Basically, first price is this. Now it's 10. Then we add the price of this. Now it's 25. Now we add 20, and now it's 45. The way that it felt strange to me is like price is a strange like name, I guess. Maybe not, but why does the date matter? I don't know, it's kind of like too much information for what we actually want, because to get revenue, all we need is price. That's all. However, I have no clue how to do it. So let's screenshot it. Let's copy and go here. Oops. Oh, cool. Now there's actually like tiles. That's epic. So by default in Chromekite, my tiling script, things like utility windows, like this one is, are automatically floating. The issue with that is that if they are automatically floating, you can't make them tile by default. Now, let me show this in a more specific example by going to scripts. Let's put it like this. So we go to Cronkite. Boom, right? So let's go to behavior, no, to rules. So we have this float utility windows thing, which is true by default, I think. I could be lying to you right now, by the way. I don't quite remember. Okay, what if you float all utility windows, but some utility windows you actually want to tile instead? There is nowhere to put them. Straight up. You can't be like, oh, but this utility window you should tile, because there's ignore windows, basically meaning that you should float them, I guess. And there's float windows, meaning, yeah, you should float them as well. Not sure what the difference is specifically, but I guess ignore windows doesn't even register them in Cronkite, doesn't try to do anything, and float windows floats them via Cronkite. So there's no option for you to, okay, this utility window you should tile, but if you disable this instead, every utility window as well gets tiled, but you can make it float, like I'm doing here, for example. Which is why I picked to do it this way. It may look strange from time to time, but for the most part, I like things to tile. I think it makes sense, it's convenient, looks good. Right, so, you know what's cool? I can do as many lines as I need, and I'll still never reach like this horizontality, because I have the typewriter extension that automatically centers my cursor, and that's so convenient. So we have date, order ID, and yep, I'm gonna write all of them out. Okay, so price 2023 01 01 1 after a pipe 10. There is some way. Okay, yeah, I know how to do it. To align this table, and we're going to do it thanks to the Easy Align plugin, I think it's called, in the like for Vim. Not even only NeoVim, you can also use it in Vim. It's a great plugin, I've been using it forever. So let's GA inside entire this, boom, and then we can do the same thing to do this. You may say, well, isn't there a way to align by all of them? I think there is, but I don't often need it, which is why I didn't even attempt it. So inside everything, then star these. Yeah, that's exactly how it works. That's amazing. So we have this table, and then we want to yap and revenue. I don't need to align myself. I need to remember that. So we start at 10 again. Then we add to 25, then 45. And then everything this. Amazing, right? Like, oh my god. Okay, so looking at this makes it a bit easier because it's in the form that I'm most used to. Okay, so in a sense, we can ignore date, we can ignore order ID. All we have is price. There is like aggregate functions in SQL that can sum up all the rows of a column. But what we would get is like what? 45, when what we need is 45, but before that 25, but before that 10, so we need an entire column instead of just a single value. So let's actually post this into a full question to ChatGPT. Reason I think it's fine to learn things like this is because ChatGPT is actually pretty good at explaining stuff. It can like elaborate on the idea, because this is a common thing to do. It's not some overly complex problem. It's just how to use SQL, basically. And once I know the idea, then I can pump up the human part of me that thinks about like more things to use that knowledge. It is a problem though to use ChatGPT, where you just ask a question, take what it gives you, and don't elaborate on it or don't think on it too much. You just take the answer and boom, that's it. That way it can be harmful to your progress as a developer. But if you use it as a tool, basically as a better Googler, I think it's like actually a great tool. Never fully trust it. But once you can recognize when it's wrong, when it's lying, and so on and so forth, it's like an amazing tool. So let's pose this as a question so we get a pretty good answer. I have this table, and I have this table. I want to calculate the revenue by date. So the table then looks like this. It's not a great question, but if need be, we can change it up to be a bit different. I noticed this, that I often talk going up. I'm like, different? And I always do this. Where did I pick it up? Now, obviously, I'm trans, and I pick up how women talk more because I want to sound more feminine. That's like not surprising to anyone. But where still? Where did I pick this up? I think I just came up with it, probably. So what I'm basically looking for is not just the solution, but the idea of how the solution works. To maintain a running total of the price column as revenue through the dates. In SQL, you can achieve this using a window function. How interesting. So we select date or... wait, what? So, right, selections essentially pick columns that are going to be in the resulting table. We do indeed sum price, but over order by date. So we do sum price over, basically going one by one by one, with the order by date, and we call it revenue. From, this is the table, and then we order by date again. Okay, that's pretty simple. I just did not know whatsoever about the over keyword. Like, straight up, the first time I'm hearing about it. Can you elaborate can you explain how over works and how it can be used with examples? With a single example, sure. Because I feel like if I just add it to my things that I need to understand, I'll just never do it. So I might as well try to understand this concept immediately so it's in my book of things that I know. Yeah. Well, I guess it's cutting off something regardless. Okay, let's do it this way. I wish you could, like, configure by how much you change a window's width or height in Cronkite. I haven't found a way of doing it, but maybe there's like a config file. I haven't really looked. So let's actually add a note, Cronkite config. Yeah, I haven't searched for something that simple, believe it or not. It's actually kind of wild. Let's read this through. So in SQL, the over clause defines a window or a set of rows. The fact that it uses the word window confuses me to an extent. Or a set of rows, where SQL performs a calculation such as aggregation, ranking over those rows. Allows performing calculations across sets of rows. Okay, so usually aggregate functions, the good and the bad thing about them, those are even not correct ways to explain. Like, not good or bad, it's just how they do things. They result in a single value by taking in multiple values. And I did have this question very often. How do we get those multiple values and still keep multiple values? How do we make that into a column instead? So over lets us do aggregates, but gives us multiple values. And it aggregates as the inputs come in. That's an interesting way of looking about it. Let me write this into my notebook. So over lets you aggregate over a column as the inputs grow. I think that's the best way I can explain it to myself. But of course, I barely finished the first sentence. Let's finish this, obviously. It allows performing calculations across sets of rows that are related to the current row. Okay. So we are vertically on a row I was performing calculation across sets of rows that are related to the current one. Generally used with window functions. Once again, use the word window. Like rank, row number, sum, etc. So sum, for example, over this column, for example. This is how we order it. It's probably going to give an example so I can more clearly see how it's used. The partition by clause is used to divide the input into several groups. The rows range clause defines a frame or window of rows with respect to the current row within the partition. Let's consider a table named students with fields name, subject, and score. Okay. If we wanted to select the cumulative score of each student in the students table, we take name, subject, score again, and then we sum the scores over, we partition by name and order by subject. That's cumulative score. Or we can also abbreviate it to CumScore. From students, yeah, order by name, subject. Cool. So we that is 150. So basically, first it started this, then ends up being 166 because we added 78 to it. Oh, I see. Makes sense. Partition by is interesting. So partition gives us a row, not a column, which I guess confuses me. No, both of that is false. Partition gives us a group with the name being a unifying thingy, and then we order by subject, both of which has score as well. And then we sum those scores as we go through the subject. So first is English, and we're like 85, right? Let's go to, we go to 85, then we go to maths, it's 80, and boom, we got 165, and then it's ungrouped, basically. Or more specifically, we just reselect everything. The group still stayed a group, we just turned it into output that we then use and align ourselves. If we didn't have this order by, the output would be incorrect. They're not linked by themselves. In this example, partition by name creates separate windows for each student. And order by subject sorts the rows within each window, so each student. Sum score is then computed for each window, providing the cumulative score for each student as we move row by row. So I think it uses the word window to mean group, but let's just, I guess, confirm. When you say window, what do you mean? In the context of SQL, a window refers to a set of rows in the result set of an SQL query on which a function can operate. So it's basically a cut. Say we have this table with these rows. We can then cut this part out, and that is a window. Instead of operating on the entire result set or grouping sets of rows, a window function operates on a frame or window of rows related to the current row. So when we use the term window, we're referring to a defined subset of the data. The window or subset of data can be defined based on the following clauses used with the over keyword. So it's not even a group. It's a cut. Partition by displays windows by dividing the result set into partitions. Oh, so they are groups. Based on the values in specified columns. Partition by order ID will create a new window for each unique order ID. Order by clause. This defines the order of rows in each partition. Yeah, that makes sense. It can be useful when the window function being used operates on an ordered set of rows. Yep. Rows or range clause. This allows to even more specifically define the window by setting the limit of rows before and after the current row the window function operates on. Window functions do not reduce the number of rows returned by the query, they just perform calculations across the defined window of rows. So they're most useful when multiple essentially IDs. In the case of name, that's kinda it. We need to calculate something that all relates to Doe, all relates to Jane, and all relates to John. Okay, interesting. So, how did it work in this solution? Instead of taking rows, we straight up just don't. All we need is price. So we just take price. We just order it by something else. Oh, wow, that's interesting. So, when we go here, let's do this little magic. We start here. We aggregate the current row, which is the current window. Great. Then this is now the window. Then this is now the window. So as we go through the rows, it still partitions the windows and gives us them to aggregate. It's just that we only need the price, so we don't take the entire row. We only need the price, so we get only the price. And that's how it works. Wow, that's super interesting. Okay, let's write this in as well. So, partition by gives windows containing entire rows. But here we don't use it. Without it, what's all this then? Hey, I'm really happy to see you here. We're learning SQL right now, actually. So, without partition by, the windows grow. I'm writing down in my notebook, just so you know. Cumulatively. Difficult word. Boom. I don't think I'm smart enough to understand this, but I'll try going with it. Sure do, because I'm currently learning as well. SQL is like not something that I'm great at. But it's interesting. It's like the ability to work with related data in quite complex ways. This question is then so here all we needed to do is add up the price as it goes on, but now what's the maximum limit of what you can do with SQL? It's a Turing complete programming language, so actually anything. Pretty sure if a language is Turing complete, you can technically do anything with the language, which is computable. You know what else is wild? The fact that CSS plus HTML are Turing complete when together. So same applies there. Can you make AI models with it? You shouldn't. You super shouldn't. Yeah, you shouldn't. That's not going to be your base, let's say that. Sure, you'll have a database where you store all of your data about the AI, like, alright then. But you wouldn't, like, make the AI do stuff with SQL. Yeah, and dumb. But I don't know, it could be fun, who knows? So the difference here is that we also do this, but we partition by category. Let's ask this question straight up. That's the best way to approach it. Being just, wow, I can't copy, that's terrible. Wow. That's the best way to approach programming. being like fine with things being difficult, just going into them with fun. Okay, so category games, books, games. Category games, books, games. And we actually, no, not that. Let's align this thing and make sure it's now 10, 15, and 30. Then this is like ASMR, even though I don't understand much. It's very relaxing. Thank you. That's great. I should do like ASMR eventually, like just release an entire video which is ASMR programming. That's a vibe. That's a whole ass vibe. So what are the differences between this and this? To accumulate all of this, thank you, fuck yeah. And it's extra hilarious considering that I used to make scream rap and then going the complete opposite route of ASMR. That's hilarious. Imagine also having it in a single video. That would be so mean. As we go through price, we take the price and create the windows by it. I don't know which is like better. Both are in their own ways extremes. But I guess I calmed down for the most part. To an extent. Fuck, no. This track doesn't let me chill out. It's so good. It's literally so good. I think you'd be really good at ASMR, to be fair. Generally, you should go for it. Nah, after all, it's not really my focus. What I love doing is doing like programming related stuff and like configuring my browser, which we're gonna get to. I was gonna like show you like the config page, but I don't have it open currently. I used to. No, not this. This will config something cool. And that's like entirely fun to me. Yeah, absolutely. So, first of all, here we just take price and accumulate it one by one. So we start with this row. What's the price here? It's 10. Okay, let's put 10 here. I heard a lot of people praise Brave, but in terms of features, I haven't heard it like being as good as Vivaldi, because Vivaldi has workspaces. Actually, usually I take care of that so that you don't see like my private social media. Fuck, whatever. It has workspaces, so basically ways to put multiple sets of tabs into a single window, and then on that you have tab stacks, so a tab that can contain multiple tabs. It's good enough for most people, I think. It's easier for them. That's super fair, yeah. For the longest time I didn't really care about what browser I use, because I had the standpoint of, it's shit anyway, why should I even bother? But Vivaldi does, after all, provide some cool advantages that I like using, like those two that I just mentioned. So check it out. It's cross-platform, I'm pretty sure. After we are done with this row, we go on to this and this row. How do we select it? Here we go. What else do we have here? Have you ever noticed how huge Wow, it doesn't appear there. Let's open a tab. You right click in your browser and there's like this huge ass window here, right? Well, you can actually configure it in what's this called? VOD. You can configure what elements in your right click windows are even there. So maybe I right click on a tab. It's way more minimal than it usually is. Usually it would have like a billion things that you would also have to scroll, most of which I either don't need or have hotkeys for. You can remove, change them, reorder them, and so on and so forth. You can reorder and change where your UI elements are. I know, right? It's amazing. And the best thing that really made me switch to begin with is that you can change every single hotkey. If you don't like it, you can just change it. Like, let me try to give you an example of something that I was annoyed by and changed thereafter. Right, I always set Alt-W to close the tab instead of Control-W, which is the default everywhere, because Control-W is just very awkward to reach for me, unless I'm using both hands, which I would rather not do. Alt-W is massively more convenient to me, and I can just set it. Now Control-W, I can press it all I want, it does nothing. But Alt-W would close this tab, like, boom. And the same thing applies to anything else, and you can set hotkeys to a lot of very specific actions if you want to, like delete or rather close all the tabs to the right. Quite specific, isn't it? But it's something that you can set a hotkey for. That's like amazing. And even better than that, you can have mouse gestures. Your hands have to be really small or your keyboard has to be really wide. It's not wide particularly. I just use my thumb to press Alt, and so it's like really not a lot of movement. Yeah, it's like very slight. So I have my 4 fingers on ASDF, and I quickly move my thumb on the Alt and then press W, which is a very small movement. Rather than, I'm not even sure how you're supposed to press Control W. First of all, you need to move your pinky to the control. That by itself is not really a big issue, because usually you would be pressing a key on the opposite side of the keyboard. But with something like closing tabs, you do want to be able to do it with one hand, and doing Control W with a single hand is just horrendous. Like, I super hate it. I've always hated it. I'm a massive human being, what can I say? It just couldn't matter to me. For real, no cap. I mean, fuck. I think I'm average. I don't know. So for me, it's like unbearable. So yeah, mouse gestures. Just moving my mouse while holding down right click. Some other stuff as well that we're gonna get to. After we're done with the first row, we go on to the second one, and now we have 2 prices. That we combine. Then we're done with that. We go on to the third one and we combine all of them and get this value. So they still aggregate, but the data that they have increases cumulatively. So what's the difference between this and also doing that only by category? So let's look at this. We have order by date but that's only order by. Here we would need to partition by category. What's the actual question? How will the request change if the table has category and we need to calculate the revenue per category? How does the request change if we calculate by category, like in this example? Add everything in the category separately in it. Well, that's actually the way you would do it, kinda. In making databases, the idea of making a separate table that contains a set of related data, that's how you usually do it exactly. It's just like, I guess, a more simplified example. Yes, we just partitioned by category. It's exactly what I thought. Holy shit, I'm amazing. I am literally so massive. Fuck yeah. Amazing. Yeah, we just partition. True. That's kind of what we're doing. SQL is interesting because you basically cut things around, then do something on those sets of data and give output or change what's in that data. This one I did pretty well. Except I couldn't figure out the question of what do we do? Do you do SQL injections? I don't even use SQL, much less SQL injections. Like, I feel like for a normal person, SQL is kind of useless. Like, you would need to use a database, but why? I don't need it yet. All of the data that I store in the programs that I make is very simple, and JSON is all I need, really. Maybe in the future I'll need the power of a database. I was wondering why none of this made sense to me. This thing or something else? Let's first of all copy it. And, oh, of course. So order queue service get order if order. This is bad code, by the way, and what we're trying to do here is make it better. Because first of all, well, once I write it out, I'll explain what exactly is bad with it. Coding in general, something I don't use often. I used to be a hacker, so I used to run Python scripts, and that was about it. Well, that's already great. I started with remapping keys on my keyboard with AutoHotkey because for some odd reason, when I searched for it on Google, it didn't just give me a program to do it, it gave me a whole programming language to do it. And I'm like, really? Do I need all this? I guess I did, and then I learned programming thanks to it. So it went super well in that regard. So you may have like a simple start, but then you improve and improve and improve. And then sometimes you do just some crazy shit. To help her in the kitchen, I'll join in a while. Alright, see ya. The issue with this code is, first of all, the fact that we're getting the type as a string, which is just, it feels wrong, and I was able to explain why it is wrong to the interviewer. First of all, this isn't supposed to be here. So the issue with this is that when we're comparing a type of something as a string, we're not allowing the compiler to help us as much as it actually can. So let's do something else instead. Order is online order. And since we just checked, now this cast will always work because it is an online order. That was another issue, the fact that we aren't sure that it can cast always. Now we can. And the problem here is that we assume that if it's not an online order, then it's definitely an offline one, which is incorrect. We do not have that guarantee. So let's, if order is offline order, then this is fine. Great, but what if we then added another type of order? Well, what now? fuck do we do now? We'll have to just remember to change it here instead of the compiler enforcing that we do. Unfortunately, unlike in Rust, in C#, switches are not exhaustive, which I learned on the fucking interview, which is somewhat hilarious. But yeah, switches are not exhaustive. They will not force you to handle all cases. In Rust, that wouldn't be an issue. I could just match every single type, and if a new type was added, I would have to handle that as well. It's not the case in C#, and we need to find a way to, for sure, match every single type of order. So let's write this out as a question. I have this C# code which has an issue. If another type of order is ever added aside from online order and offline order, the compiler won't enforce us to handle it, leading to harder to maintain code. How do we guarantee we handle all types of order, considering that they're children of the order? I'm guessing. Actually, no, let's not add that. That's more confusing than helpful. Class. Let's create a new channel so it's like more money effective. Because believe it or not, a certain person is actually paying for my ability to use ChatGPT, which I'm entirely thankful for. I'm able to learn so much thanks to using ChatGPT. So yeah, and that's why I keep creating new channels over and over again rather than not bothering and using the same one, is because it needs to resend the entire data of the entire channel, so all the messages every time we send another message. So it like aggregates very fast. I bought a new e-liquid today, and it's actually good. But you know what's not good? I went out at like 7:30, and it actually got super dark, surprisingly. Just recently at 8, it was like super bright, but now it's actually dark. And weirdly enough, now that it can get dark, like suspicious looking men now start appearing on the streets. Now, for the people watching, I'm not American. You might think, oh, she's gonna spout some racist bullshit. No, I'm just talking about, like, in Russia we have this concept of gopnik. It's like a harsh person who was driven to that approach to life thanks to, unfortunately, their financial situation. However, those people are scary. I've always been scared of them, and I've been traumatized by them multiple times. And now I go outside, and they're actually there. I need to fucking find ways to go around them because, fuck. I move some way wrong, and I might get in trouble with them, especially considering that they're racist, transphobic, homophobic, anything that you can imagine, sexist as well. Yeah, it's fucking scary out there, which is why I generally go in the morning. It's like the most peaceful time of day. The visitor pattern allows you to add methods to a class hierarchy without the need to change the classes themselves. Interesting. In the order-based class, you add an accept method that takes an I-order processor interface. Yeah, that is much better. That's amazing. So we build a class that follows an interface that implements every single type of thing, every single type of order that we can process. And then it implements actual code that processes every type of order, which we then put here. Better yet, now we don't even need to care to put in all of the singular types. All we need to do here is just call accept by passing the processor. And if it can possibly not work that way, yeah, if this method is not overridden in an order type, the compiler will handle it for us. Yeah, that's a good answer. Okay, this specific thing I could not for the life of me understand at all like how to do this. So let's once again copy it by taking a screenshot, put it here, and like write it. So we have order ID, order amount, product 2023 01 01 110 apple 2 15 apple as well. Boom, boom, boom. Okay. Here's the table. So we got a task to add an ability to put multiple products in a single order. We got a task to implement an ability to add multiple products into a single order. A product has a name and a price. The order can consist of multiple products and a single product can be in multiple orders. An order can consist of multiple products, and a product can be in multiple orders. What should the database look like now? Fucking non-monospace fonts, fucking up the spacing to such a big extent. You would need to implement a many-to-many relationship between the order and product entities. To model this, we usually create a join table, call it order product. This will result in a structure where the tables order product and order product have the following columns. So order has ID and date. Yeah. Product has its own ID. Oh no, yeah, we'll get to this. Then we have product, which has the name and the price. Also pretty simple. So that's all the information both of those need for themselves. And then order product contains foreign keys to both of those tables and the amount, represent the number of that product in the order. Integer field to represent the number of that product in the order. What? An order can have multiple products, That's not even true though. Yeah, this doesn't work because this is a singular foreign key to an order table, and this is a singular foreign key to a product table. This doesn't work because an order can still only contain a single product, although a different amount of it needs to be able to contain multiple types of different products, and the amounts of each one of them. I love that it just says A and triple dot. That's hilarious. It's possible that I misunderstood. Multiple different types of products and the quantities of each relationships are expressed at the row level, not the table level. So we have the product table, we have this product with this price, and an order table. Ordered product, so order is this one, product is this one. Ah! Right! I didn't think of this. We can just repeat the fucking same order ID. That's the same order, it's just that it also has this product. Holy shit. Yeah, that makes sense now. I forgot that was a possibility. I was constricted by the thought that a table can only contain a singular thing. And while that's true, some fields can stay the same. And I was being hinted at it by the tech lead in the interview, but I could not get it. Yeah, that makes a lot more sense now. So by just putting the same order ID, we refer to the same exact order, however has multiple products, and then we can manipulate that data however we like. Yeah, okay, got it. Yeah, we're done with this. Not gonna lie, kinda tired. I didn't really give myself too much time to chill because I was too brain deep into I need to figure out what I did wrong in this interview to get better. I think I understood some things, I learned some things, remembered some things, because I'm pretty sure I knew this in the past. But it's all about experience and what you often do. Fuck. Yeah. I can reload my page like this. Like, well, if I had a page. Say I can do this. Boom. Very, very convenient. I disabled this feature for quite a long time because I was playing chess, but now chess.com just does not work in Russia. I think it's supposed to, considering their message to me. Like, chess.com sends a private message to your account if you're Russian, saying something along the lines of, like, we don't blame the people of Russia for what's currently happening, but we implore you to please do whatever you can to fight against it. We will not disallow you from playing chess because we think that it connects people. And that's probably the sweetest way to like put the feelings into words. It's like so sweet. They recognize that, yeah, what's happening is wrong, but they also recognize that just blaming the people and now you can't play chess. And that's like our solution, I guess, to the problem. That it's also like, I guess, limited in terms of how much it actually helps. So like, I love that. We have new tab, close tab, previous tab, next tab, reopen next tab. Huh. Reload page. I'm considering making things to go to a different workspace, something like this and this. And sure, let's do them. So, workspace, next one. Boom. And previous workspace. Now I can do something like this, which is pretty cool. It's so flowy. All right. I think I'm done for today. Maybe I'll stream a few more hours today separately. But for now, I'm done. Thanks everyone for watching. Follow my Mastodon. It's in the description.